Mm. Today we'll be working in my workbook called Kadesh Barnea to the Plains of Moab, and it covers Numbers 20 to 24. Looking at the table of contents, we've actually completed all the chapters except the last chapter, which we'll be doing today. This started with when they wanted water again. There wasn't any water at Kadesh Barnea, and so this is the second time they asked for water. Moses does it incorrectly, and that seals his fate as far as not going into the promised land. Then, as they try to find access to where they're going to be, they try to cross Edom to go to the King's Highway, but Edom denies their passage. So they have to travel all around Edom in order to get to where they're supposed to stay before they enter the promised land. In this chapter of 20, we have both Aaron and Miriam dying. So at this point, Moses is the only one of the three that still exists, and he knows his time is not long. So then they get the first battle. There will be plenty of battles before they enter the promised land. And then the story of the bronze snake is here, where people had to look to the bronze snake and be healed from the bites of the vipers that were in the area. And then we see the actual travel from Mount Hor to the plains of Moab, which they will station at for a number of months. It seems longer, but it's really only, I don't know, 2 or 3 months at most. But we have so much to cover before they actually get moving. Then, because they're in the plains of Moab, they attack the people to the north, and they are defeated. This comes into play a little bit later, but it's important to have this attack here. Then we get in the story of Balak and Balaam, and we're going to be finishing that story today. Why this story is in here, we're not really sure, although Balaam is important in the next book, actually, the first chapter of the next book. But we do have Balak, who's the king of Moab, summoning Balaam, who is a prophet, to curse Israel. And this all has to do with Balak trying to get Balaam to curse Israel. And what happens is he ends up blessing Israel over and over again. So we're now on chapter 11, which is Balaam's 4th through 7th messages. Balaam's 4th through 7th messages.
Then he spoke his message, the prophecy of Balaam, son of Beor, the prophecy of one whose eyes sees clearly, the prophecy of one who hears the words of God, who has knowledge from the Most High, who sees a vision from the Almighty, who falls prostrate, and whose eyes are open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star will come out of Jacob, a scepter will rise out of Israel. He will crush the foreheads of Moab, the skulls of all the people of Sheshith. Edom will be conquered. Seir, his enemy, will be conquered, but Israel will grow strong. A ruler will come out of Jacob and destroy the survivors of the city.
So in verse 15 and 16 are similar to Numbers 24, 33b and 4, but there's one addition. What is it?
Who has acknowledged from the Most High.
Right. Verse 17 is a prophecy of Jesus. I see him, but not
now.
I behold him, but not near. A
star
will come out of Jacob. A
scepter
will rise out of Israel. And that is considered a prophecy. Biblical scholars and religious traditions generally see this prophecy as having a dual fulfillment. King David, historically, many interpret this as a reference to King David, who arose from the line of Jacob and physically conquered Moab and Edom, as is mentioned in 2 Samuel 8:2. Then also the Messiah. Christian theology views Jesus as the ultimate fulfillment of this prophecy. Who is crushed in verse 17?
A star, a scepter.
Who are Sheth? And all the people of Sheth, that's what it is. Based on the writing of the prophecy, we know it's another way to identify Moab. It is thought to be another word for Shemash, which is the god of Moab, or noisy boasters, as this verse is nearly repeated in Jeremiah. Jeremiah 48, 45b, 46a. It burns the foreheads of Moab, the skulls of noisy boasters. Woe to you, Moab, the people of Shamash are destroyed. Who is conquered in verse 18?
Edom.
Edom, yeah. Edom,
Edom.
Seir is where Edom resides, so it's another word for the same thing. Edom was conquered by David in 2 Samuel 8:14. What changed God's mind regarding Edom and Moab? Despite being spared initially, both nations became frequent enemies of Israel. By the time of the Babylonian conquest of Judah, Edom not only stood by while Jerusalem was destroyed, but actively helped the Babylonians capture Jewish fugitives and cheered for the city's ruin. During this time also, Moab mocked Israel's downfall, claiming they were like all the other nations and had no special protection from God. By the time of the major prophets like Jeremiah and Ezekiel, God declared that Moab and Edom will cease to exist as independent nations because of their vaulting pride against him.
All right. Then Balaam saw Amalek and spoke his message. Amalek was first among the nations, but their end will be utter destruction.
According to this verse, Amalek, the Amalekites, were
First,
among the nations. Notice Numbers 23:7 also tells us the future king of the Israelites will be greater than
Agag.
Amalek, right? Yeah, or
Yeah.
something, who is king of the Amalekites. Therefore, the scripture foretells the fall of the greatest kingdom of the Canaanites. Here, Balaam confirms the future doom of Amalek, which Moses foretold in Exodus. Exodus 17, 14, 16. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under the heaven. He said, because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation. And this was supposed to happen in the time of Saul. 1 Samuel 15, 2 through 3. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now, Saul, go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. However, some Amalekites survived. Therefore, we have the story of Esther, where one ancestor of the Amalekites, Haman, nearly kills off all the Israelites, but fails.
Then he saw the Kenite who spoke his message. Your dwelling place is secure. Your nest is set in a rock. Yet you Kenites will be destroyed when Asher takes you captive.
How does Balaam describe the location of the Kenites?
Nest is set in a rock. They have a secure dwelling place.
They were securely established among the clefts and the high rocks of the En Gedi towards the west. Circle the Kenites. Okay, where are the Kenites? Oh, I see the Kenites. Okay. Bible scholars believe Asher is another word for Assyria and the ancient city of Asher located on the Tigris River. While we don't have a specific scripture dealing with this, we do know that the Assyrians took control of Israel in 2 Kings. 2 Kings 17:5, the king of Assyria invaded the entire land, marched against Samaria, and laid siege to it for 3 years.
Then he spoke his message. Alas, we can live when God does this. Ships will come from the shores of Cyprus. They would subdue Asher and Eber. They will too, but they too will come to ruin. Then Balaam got up and returned home, and Balak went his own way.
Okay, go ahead and complete number 1.
Alas, who can live when God does this?
When God does what? In Numbers 24:17, he will crush the foreheads of
Moab.
24:18
Edom will be
will be
conquered.
right. And 24:20
Amalek,
was first among the nations, but their end will be utter destruction. And then go ahead and complete number 3.
ships will come from the shores of Cyprus. They will subdue Asher and Eber. But they too will come to ruin.
The ships of Cyprus are Alexander the Great, who subdues Assyria, Ashur, or the Persian Empire, and the Israelites, Eber. The word Hebrew comes from this word. And that's what happened. Where did Balaam and Balak go after all these messages?
Balaam returned home. Balak went his own way.
Right. So, what can we learn from the story of Balak and Balaam? God's sovereign will. No curse can harm those God has blessed. God turns curses into blessings and dictates what is spoken. Irrevocable blessing. God will not change his mind about blessing his people, regardless of efforts to manipulate him. Danger of greed. Balaam was motivated by rewards, which is a warning to not let financial gain or popularity influence devotion to God. Obedience over magic. True prophecy came from God, not from rituals or sorcery, as shown when Balaam was compelled to speak divine truth rather than magical curses. Divine guidance in unusual places. God can use unexpected means, including a talking donkey, to correct our paths and guide us, requiring us to be attentive to his direction. Some humorous lessons from these two. Your donkey might be smarter than you. Balaam, a professional seer, is so blinded by rage and greed that he cannot see an angel standing in his way while his donkey sees it perfectly. Panic buying results don't work. King Balak tries to hire a prophet to curse his enemies, only for the prophet to bless them instead. Balak keeps moving locations, hoping a better view will change God's mind, but it never does. And that's the end of this book. And so